Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the High Performance Health Podcast with me, Pav, Colin, and Andrew. Today we're going to be diving into a couple of topics. The first of which is going to be the illusion of quick fixes. We're going to discuss training versus exercise, and we're also going to be discussing training to failure if we have time. So I think we can all agree in the industry that we're in, everybody is always looking for that kind of secret elixir, that kind of magic potion where you can literally just wave your magic wand and just make somebody lose 50 pounds or be able to run 100 meters in 10 seconds or whatever they're looking to achieve. There is so many out there. In fact, I have a statistic to start the podcast, but a 2022 survey by Market Data Enterprise found that Americans spend over 30 billion annually on weight loss products, many of which promise rapid results without sustainable behavior change.
Oh.
So Colin, for me, right, first question to you, why are quick fixes so attractive, even though people know deep down that they rarely work?
Yeah, people know deep down they don't work, but they're attractive. Well, for a couple of reasons. On the actual side of marketing, it makes more sense if I'm telling someone you can lose 10 kilograms in the next 6 weeks. That's way more appealing than if I'm telling someone I can create a sustainable plan for you where, you might lose 10 kilograms in 6 months and you'll be able to maintain it over the long term. And, it doesn't sell as well. And so that's why it is appealing in that, oh, I can get to my goal, my target, where I want to get to, and I can do it quicker. Naturally, that's what I want to go for. But of course, it's never set up for any sustainable approach. Um, and the other thing as well is I think a lot, especially the guys on this program, they're probably used to play sports back in their college days, especially if they ever were on like a wrestling team or something like that, when sometimes you have to weigh in. And when you can weigh in, you can lose a lot of weight in a short period of time. And I can just, white knuckle it, lose all the weight and hit my weight goal. And then, I've hit the goal. And so sometimes you still get stuck in that mindset of, oh, I can lose 15 pounds in a couple of weeks, no problem. Like I just need to really dial in. But how sustainable was that? Usually if you did that for a weigh-in, you've probably gained 10 pounds back the next day. So again, it's more just like a mindset and a habit that you've built up over time of, I know if I just focus in, I can smash this and lose the 15, 20 pounds very, very quickly. But if you actually take a zoomed out view and a reflective view on it, you realize, oh, well, none of them are ever sustainable, hence why I'm in the situation I'm in now. So actually, none of them were fixing anything. Yes, they were quick, but they didn't fix it.
Yeah.
So it goes back to something I heard the other day, which I thought was funny. It's more related to buying products, but it was buy it nice or buy it twice. And it's so anything that you think is, a quick fix or a cheap option, you're going to have to double down on it anyway. So you might as well, put the time, put the effort into making a sustainable change.
It's about
I think one of the biggest problems with the quick fixes as well is they usually work very well. Um, like if someone's selling, like you take some of these shake diets and stuff like that, it's like you're consuming two shakes in a 500 calorie dinner on some of these plans. And
slim fast. Yeah.
this is for 250 pound meals. It's like you are going to see the scale rocket down the way, like literally. And people are so rewarded by that because it's like I've struggled with this for so long. Wow, look at the weight. I've lost 15 pounds in 4 days. And it's like, because of that, it's like you just get into this, dopamine hit cycle of, wow, I'm just continuing to do this. And because you've come off probably a period of poor nutrition habits, low levels of activity, you have some padding there before you can start to really feel the hunger and the effects and the negative impacts of some of those behaviors. So yeah, I think the problem with quick fixes is they work very well until they don't. And then the explosion in weight up the way is usually about as quick as the explosion in weight down the way. um, and people are so myopically focused on the short term that they see the quick fix as a quick way out of the pain and then they'll figure it out later. And I think that's part of the big problem.
As a coach, though, I just can't understand that. I can't understand that obsession about coming into a program or and doing whatever it is. Let's say six weeks to guaranteed six pack abs. We've all seen people on the internet. There's a young lad who I can't remember his name. covered in tattoos. He's always talking about guaranteed to burn belly fat in 6 weeks. And the guy looks absolutely great. So you're going to buy into that as well, looking at what they look like. These 25-year-old kids still got metabolisms. You know, they're not having to manage a household, run a family or anything like that. They don't have all of the external stresses of life sitting on their shoulders. But what for you, Pav, are some of the most common quick fixes that you've seen? Because I'm sure you must get talked about these kind of things with your clients with their weekly check-in calls and stuff. It's stuff that I hear all the time.
Most common, well, probably what everyone else, these different shakes or different type of juice on restricted diet. Sometimes it's intermittent fasting or eating one day, one meal a day, literally restricting, which in my opinion as well, question is it sustainable? That's the main question, because at some point it may looks like quick fix, but if it that's suit for the person and he can sustain for rest of his life, that quick fix, it's not becoming quick fix, it's a long-term fix, yeah. But mostly these people, they jump for this marketing little nice 10 kilo in 30 days, etc. And obviously, today's world is all about speed and be satisfied, instant gratification, yeah. So that's why the people fall into it, and then obviously they fall into this trap. It's really sometimes I think if they serve purpose and they kicks person into some routine, they know that bad, as long as they accompany it by some right actions to create sustainable habits. Because I think the problem with those quick fixes is they're not really creating any sort of habits. They just fixed short-term issue, and then people fall back into the old routine, old momentum, or whatever they were doing, and guess what? They go back where they were before, and very often even worse. Yeah, we know yo-yo dieting and stuff like that. So
I, I think you've actually made a good point there, Pav. I mean, sometimes a little bit more restriction in the start can be a good thing. Like especially to get a little bit of momentum, you're more motivated, but you have to really shift the behaviors over time to, can I keep this going? And that's ultimately where, people like us come in and helping people navigate that, I think.
I
Yeah,
think
I was
just on that point is that's a really good point. I think sometimes is like you say, one, the quick fixes work, but also it's sometimes it is because you can, if you have such a sustainable routine, it can get quite monotonous to where sometimes the motivation can drop. So if I actually now have a concentrated period of time when, okay, I'm going to be maybe a little bit more restricted or the intensity is going to be a little bit higher, that's really motivating and you can make really good progress in that time. But when you finish, you have to go back to the sustainable approach. I can't, again, I haven't built up the habits. So that's what I always find is people who have built up the positive lifestyle habits, they have a good sustainable routine. For them, they can really benefit from really intense blocks because they're not going to go backwards. They're only going to be able to go back to a maintaining phase then as well. So they can use them as a good motivation to make that extra little bit of progress when sometimes maybe they are stagnating a little bit.
For sure.
And I don't know if you noticed, but lately, I don't know why it's more and more I see in different adverts, in obviously, people talking about those things like drugs that are designed for, let's say, diabetic people, to help lose weight. But what's funny that people are thinking, that this is the way, even if they're not ill, if they don't need that sort of medication. But again, it's and I have a client I will not name who told me she tried that in the past years and years back. Yes, she did lose weight, but it was accompanied by uh, really being sick, not feeling well, low energy levels, and what habits were created? Zero.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
actually now she's working with me over 2 years. Said like this is a lifestyle I'm enjoying actually.
yeah.
I lost, I'm maintaining. That's why, all her friends asking like, "What are you doing? How you look? Look your biceps!" And she's looking really fit. And this is the lifestyle that will help you to live long, healthy life.
Yeah, I think you touched on an important topic as well at the moment. The Ozempics, the Manjaros,
Yeah.
the GLP-1s, whatever they are. They're the same thought process. I'm not necessarily against them. I think some people could benefit from them. And if you're, 150 pounds overweight, the alternative, well, we know the health consequences of that. Like that leads you don't see many people 300 pounds at 85 years old. You just don't see it. So like I see a place for them, but we've now got a few years of worth of research behind them, and the results on the drugs continue if you stay on the drugs because they work purely through appetite restriction. So they basically floor your or drop your food drive to the floor. So the moment that break is taken off and you're back to where you are, if nothing changed, you balloon back up in weight. And that again has been shown in the research and the clinical trials on these post 2 years of coming off the drugs, it's in the 90+% that people are just going back to their original weight. So again, quick fix potentially, but you have to do something off the back of it to actually sustain it.
I'm in the opposite camp to you. I'm kind of anti the
Yep.
medication. Part, and I've got clients who are on it. I've got a very good friend of mine whose daughter is on it, who's had no success because
Yeah.
as much as the food suppression, you take away, sorry, she adds in all of these very sugary cocktails and things that are highly calorific drinks that are significantly suppressing her appetite, and say her weight's just completely flatlined. And this
Yeah.
is 140 kilo 25-year-old.
Yeah.
140
I
kilos,
think
what's
you
that?
have to, I
300
think,
pounds.
yeah, I think you have to know your reasons for doing something like that. If you're just looking at it as another way to another potential quick fix. I mean, what I have heard from people talking about this in clinical settings, not my own experience, is that um, it helps some people reduce the food noise and constantly thinking about food, so it can help change their behaviors. And again, you take someone who's maybe 300, 350 pounds, they're even struggling to move. Like some people at that size, depending on your height, of course. So if you can lower that person's food drive, get some weight off them, that potentially encourages them to move. Like I see a place for it, but where I really don't see a place for it is if you have 30 pounds to lose, like even up to 50. I'm like, come on, like that's doable with lifestyle, and you're going to have to figure out a way to do it with lifestyle anyway. Why pay 1,000 to 1,200 bucks a month um, for something that you're going to have to figure out after the fact anyway? I think it's a different story if literally your life's in danger or you are at serious risk of very significant health problems if you don't do something about your weight. And I think if you're in the clinically obese category, then you probably are at that stage where it's like you really need to do something about this. And if that can help, I see a place for it, but I really think it's probably being overused.
I think it's our job though as coaches to when clients come in and they're talking about sort of the end, everybody kind of has that end in sight, and for me, I always revert back to five pillars: sleep, hydration, activity, nutrition, and exercise. I think it's our job to make sure that people are aware that this isn't like a quick fix thing. We aren't just going to magically flip a coin, wave our magic wand and you're going to be in the perfect shape. Because, as you've alluded to in the past, we're borrowing it, right? We're borrowing health and fitness, So how many people have you all worked with where people go, the last time I lost weight,
Hmm.
I would, if I had $1 for every time I had somebody say that, I'd be a millionaire, because it's what people always go into. Their approach is that short-term fix, that wedding they've got, that beach holiday they've got, that pair of trousers that they need to fit into, pair of pants, I'm sorry. But if we can get people to adopt the ideology of sleeping 7 to 9 hours, making sure that you stay plenty hydrated, be as active as you can throughout the day. It's not even really about lifting weights. Nail your nutrition. Now, you guys mentioned there about, potentially coming in and saying, right, let's put you on a bit of a calorie deficit for a significant period of time to get somebody to lose weight. my approach is slightly different. You don't really need to be in a calorie deficit as such. What we need to do is take away all the high processed food. If you're surrounding yourself with green, multicolored fruits and vegetables, if you can surround yourself with lean protein, good quality dairy, protein supplements, plenty of fish, um, these kind of things, Greek yogurts and stuff, you're going to be able to eat a large amount of food for that, which is probably going to naturally put you into a deficit anyway. So say it's our job as coaches, I think, to continually make people aware that over time, as Pav alluded to a second ago, teaching long-term habits ultimately is what's going to make you super successful. And I want you to go, this is the last time I need to lose weight, not the last time I lost weight.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to overeat when you have the right food choices and the right environment around you. It's like, by default, it's going to be difficult to eat a surplus of lean proteins, fruits, and veg. So, yeah, for sure. I think that the mindset around the long-term change is important as well, like you touched on there. And the phrase I use is, as you said, borrowing. It's like, every one of us is trained for a long time here. If any one of us stopped, we would lose all our progress. And if we started eating poorly, we would all become overweight. Like, it doesn't matter how advanced you are. Like, how many athletes have you seen, like world-class athletes who retire and then you get fat? Like, you remember, like, he was coined Fat Ronaldo, the footballer, the
No,
soccer. Like, have you
three for me, Andrew. Paddy the Baddy, the UFC guy, Ricky Hatton, the boxer, and Tyson Fury would get into unbelievable shape for
yeah.
a fight, and then they would just absolutely balloon over the
Yeah.
next sort of like 6 to 9 months.
No one's immune. You have to you have to adopt the thought process, in my opinion, that you're going to figure out a way to just do this, period. Like, no one questions whether they get up and go to work or not. No one questions whether they take care of their family or not. If you really want to be healthy, you have to get to a point where you just don't question whether you're going to focus on your nutrition or aim to improve your sleep or show up to the gym a couple of times a week. Yes, there's going to be fluctuations in how much you can do with that. You're going to miss a day, you're going to be sick, you're going to have a poor day at the weekend from time to time, but it's just not a question that you continue finding a way to keep moving forward. And until you get to that point, it will just always be a struggle.
And I think as well, that's where the app that we have is so important. I say to everyone, your whole fitness journey, you literally are carrying it around with you in your pocket. This
Yeah.
isn't about short term, as we've always said, long term consistency always out trumps short term intensity. Everything you need to do on the daily basis will be a reminder in your phone. Walk 10,000 steps, hit 150 grams of protein, make sure you switch off your phone 2 hours before bed. Whatever it is, make sure you're hitting your training for that day. Practice a mindful moment, box breathing, whatever it is. Everything that you need to be successful is there. You carry it around with you 24/7, so the exercise, the lifestyle part of it is kind of taken care of. The way I look at it is we are literally handing you the pieces for your long-term success. You just have to put them together. Because the difference between somebody, and we've all got that one person that we can think of straight away that's been unbelievably successful. We're not giving that everyone else any different advice. They're just putting the pieces together. I'm not asking you to build me a house. All I'm saying is you just need to sleep a little bit more, drink a little bit more water, move around a little bit more, be consistent with your hitting your protein targets ultimately, and do a bit of exercise. So when did us as a society get so far away from stuff that evolutionary is literally the most basic form of existence?
Yeah. Complex
They,
issue in the last 50 years.
it is. We've
That's why
perfected
we're
it.
here ultimately to help people with it, right? So yeah, like I'm empathetic towards people as well. Like it's hard. In today's environment, it's definitely more difficult.
I
But
think
ultimately, I think you have to embrace some sort of long-term thinking.
I think, having that structure in place, going for that 15-minute walk post eating, doing your calls standing up, having that treadmill in your office,
Yeah.
doing 10 body weight squats every hour, factoring in these little habits that Pat touched on earlier, those are the habits that are ultimately going to set you up for success. Because if we can just build that into kind of an automated response that You don't think about cleaning your teeth every morning when you get up. You don't think about having to put clothes on before you leave the house. It's just an automated response. It's your autonomic nervous system, right? It's just something that you do. We're trying to get you into that ideology of thinking, this is what I need to do. I need to sleep more, be more hydrated. I need to move around more, eat better, and I need to exercise more. I think in terms of the other two topics, guys, we're probably not going to have enough time to
Yeah.
cover them today. But before we finish, is anybody kind of got any final thoughts in terms of sort of the illusion of quick fixes?
I think
No?
you mentioned that sentence something around like, let's this be last time I'll ever need to lose the weight rather than
The
last
next time.
something along these lines. So yeah, really, people should think about, okay, let's take this approach, and this is gonna be the last approach that I'll ever need. And if it's not the one, then just don't do it. I'd say,
I
yeah,
think
if it's
I
meant to
think
be like, something.
I think as well, like people, the thinking, the thought process is fundamentally the issue with most people in these circumstances looking for the quick fix. It's like people have no problem investing 30, 40 years into a career and trying to get to a certain role or a certain level in a company. Or again, if you're building a business, like I'm building a business, my intention is to do this for decades. Like, and I don't really question that. Whereas again, when your health, like you're walking around in your body and you will be until the day you die. So you have to view that as a really is ultimately a long-term investment. It's the only thing that will ever be with you 24 hours a day, every second of your life. So yeah, I think that if you can really change the long-term thinking to how am I just going to keep investing in this over time? The same way as you invest into career, business, and family over time. Um, like I think the thought process fundamentally has to change when you're looking at quick fixes. That's the problem.
Definitely. Nobody ever got in the best shape of their life by accident, right? It has to be something that's consistent and intentional
For sure.
forever. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you for that today. Really enjoyed that. Hope everybody enjoyed listening at home, and I will see you all next time. Have a good
Cheers,
day,
guys.
guys.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Speak
have a
soon.
good day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.